Now we're at the Northwest Territories Yellowknife in Yukon, and so we're in the Butter Road District area, and it's at 3:40 a.m. in the morning. So this is Yellowknife, April 10th. A mother and her adult daughter reported a poltergeist residual hybrid. The witness heard distinct sounds of a heavy chair being dragged across the floor. Upon investigating, the chair was found positioned at the head of the table where it had been tucked in minutes prior. The daughter reported a heavy static-filled atmosphere in the room for roughly 10 minutes afterwards and reported it to the local community paranormal log. And in the Yukon Whitehorse area, on April 10th at 11:15 p.m., resident home in the Tahini North neighborhood. One person. Shadow person sighted. The witness saw a tall, solid black mass standing in the doorway of a master bedroom. It remained for approximately 5 seconds before folding inward and vanishing. This specific area has seen an uptick since 2026 in reports due to its proximity to a historical military housing foundation. Yeah, that could happen. And it was reported to me. And in Carcross, Yukon, ongoing over the last 48 hours, peaking at 2 a.m. in a private residence near Caribou Hotel, former residential school site. 3 family members. Classified as a physical haunting, the family reported the sound of rhythmic pacing coming from the attic space, which is currently inaccessible due to renovations. One witness saw a localized mist apparition at the top of the stairs, and it smelled of wet earth. And they reported it to the local elders. Well, they need to take a shaman out there and clear that land. And in Yellowknife, in the Northwest Territories, at 4 a.m. on April 11th, a resident, and this is in a residential cabin in the Old Town area. 2 people that were home. Auditory haunting, the sound of metallic scraping against the exterior wood of the home was heard. When the homeowners checked with a flashlight, no tracks were found in the remaining mud or snow, but they reported a sound of whispering voices that seemed to come from the air around them rather than physical. And they reported it to the RCMP as a potential prowler at first, and there was no evidence found. And subsequently, now I'm jumping over to Idaho. So in Idaho, in the past 48 hours, in Boise, at 11:45 on April 10th, in the North End Historic District, 2 people, homeowners, reported an active poltergeist disturbance. The witnesses were in the living room when several framed photos were simultaneously pushed off the mantel. They described a sudden, sharp drop in air pressure just before the movement. This home is noted for its proximity to the old subterranean water channels, which some investigators believe act as conductors. And they reported it to the Big River Paranormal. The land would act as a conductor, not so much as the water. And in Placido, at 1:15 a.m. on April the 11th, and this is Placido High School area, 3 people, and they were a group of college-aged housemates. The witnesses reported the sound of furniture being dragged across the attic floor, though the attic was empty and was locked. One witness claimed to see a misty apparitional type form reflected in the hallway mirror immediately after the noise stopped, and they reported it on the local community paranormal log. And at 12 o'clock a.m. on April 10th, they stressed midnight for this one, in Hayden Lake area. This is a new residential development. That's what they say here. One person, a midnight knocker event. The resident reported 3 distinct heavy knocks on the bedroom wall every hour between 3 a.m. and midnight, so midnight to 3 a.m. When investigating with a thermal camera, a cold spot was found between 62 Fahrenheit in a 72 Fahrenheit room. This was detected where the knock originated. And they shared it with the private regional research team specializing in North Idaho activity. And Blackfoot at 7:30 on April 9th, older residential farmhouse on the outskirts of Blackfoot. And this is four people, and they were having dinner. An apparition scan. A solid black figure was seen by all four witnesses walking past the kitchen doorway into the dead end pantry. When they checked the pantry seconds later, it was empty. The family reported a feeling of intense grief lingering in the kitchen for over an hour, and they reported it to the local paranormal haunting log. And that's it for that area. In Washington state, in the past 48 hours, in Gig Harbor, between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., and this is continuous, so it's multiple neighbors and a local law enforcement. Following a high profile tragic event involving reports of occult rituals, neighbors have reported seeing light anomalies, blue and white flashes in the windows of a now vacant home, and the sound of a low frequency chant coming from the yard area. This is being classified as a high intensity residual haunting triggered by the recent trauma. And it was reported to the Pierce County Sheriff's Office as a noise complaint originally, and to a local independent paranormal. For that type of thing, always exterior first, always. And when you're clearing the interior, you want to have one window open, everything else closed, and only people in there that are centered, calm, and each that have some sort of protection with them. And generally, a stone would be the protection. And in Port Gamble, a guest house apparition. At 11:45 on April 10th, in the historic residential area of Port Gamble, two witnesses staying at a local historic inn. They seen a fully embodied apparition of a man in a waistcoat was seen standing at the foot of the bed. The witness reported he appeared solid until they turned on the lamp. I've had that myself happen. At which point he dissolved into a gray mist. This coincides with the current Port Gamble Ghost Conference. These type of things happen there. And they reported it to the Port Gamble Ghost Conference organizers. And at 7:20 on April 9th in Puyallup, my gosh, I can't say that one, near Meeker Mansion. I know I murdered the first word, sorry. On April 9th, three people, this classic poltergeist activity. The family witnessed a heavy ceramic pitcher slide 3 feet across the kitchen counter and shatter on the floor without any physical contact or vibration. One witness reported a static charge in the air that made their hair stand up. In Alaska, at 11:45 on April 10th, residential home, South Anchorage, two homeowners. While the witnesses were brushing their teeth, they reported seeing a tall, solid figure reflected in the bathroom mirror standing directly behind both of them. When they turned around, the room was empty. They immediately noted a metallic ozone-like smell and found that all the digital clocks in their master suite had been reset to 12. And this one's called the Blue Jay Lady. And this is in Juneau at 2:30 a.m. on April the 11th. This is a downtown apartment building in Juneau, vicinity of the Alaskan Hotel and Bar. And four people, separate tenants in separate units. Tenants reported a shared auditory event, the sound of a woman crying, followed by rhythmic thumping moving across the floorboards of the upper units. One witness reported a blue tinted mist manifest in the hallway for roughly 30 seconds. Of course, they reported it to the building management and Haunted Alaska Research, who noted this coincides with the security camera whisper captured at a nearby historic site on April 7th. That's interesting. And in Fairbanks, ongoing over the last 48 hours, and it intensified at 3 a.m. in the morning. And this is in the Chenna Hot Springs Road area. One person, homeowner, classified as a high intensity poltergeist. The witness reported all kitchen cabinet doors being opened and simultaneously closed during the night. So they were opening and closing. In the morning, April 10th, several heavy pans were found stacked in the center of the kitchen floor. The homeowner also reported heavy breathing coming from the basement stairs, and they reported it to the Fairbanks Paranormal Investigators Group. And this one's called The Disapparent Mimic. At 9:20 on April 10th in Nome, Alaska, the outskirts, family of four, an apparition of a man with a heavy parka seen walking towards a residential property line. The family initially thought it was a neighbor in distress, but as they approached the figure, it dissolved into a white smoke. The area is currently under high scrutiny due to historical disappearance patterns and recent interdimensional portal theories linked to the Alaskan Triangle. And they reported it to the Alaskan Triangle Research. And that is it for that area. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, if you or somebody you know is having a residential haunting and you need some help, my email address is there and I'm happy to help you for free. And so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.